All right, welcome everybody. Chris Petri here. Thanks so much for coming by. Well, we're going to have a fantastic time, a fun time drawing this and painting this painting. It's really a big, we call this the painting a big sky, a big summer sky. We're going to have tons of clouds and sky colors. We're going to have also a structure below here, which could be a gas station or a convenience store or an antique store, whatever you want to make it. We have a sign here. This, to me, I made a gas station in my painting, but you could make this anything you want. You could make this an antique store. You could change the sign around. You have full creativity on my channel to change things around as you see fit. You're the artist. Come up with your own creative ideas as you work along with me, and we all work together. So here on my channel, I'm always promoting, let's all work together. Let's create better paintings. Let's work together week after week, month after month, and year after year. And we'll always get better if we're just sticking to the plan of just creating paintings and going through all the processes that we normally do with methods and techniques in watercolor. Simple enough. We're using the glazing technique this time on this painting. And again, this is an extreme beginner's painting, which means we're going to use the Prang Oval 16 set, which you'll see in just a second. So join along with me here. Have a fun time here. We're going to have a great time painting this big summer sky. There's a little more painting above here that you don't see right now, but we have some more sky colors up above and bigger clouds up above. But I did want to show you the structures that we did below, the roadway, the highway, all kinds of fun things that you can create in your painting to make a really beautiful, exciting composition. So let's get started. All right, we saw the finished painting, everyone. So now we're just going to get in and do the nuts and bolts of our painting right here. We're doing a big, beautiful, big summer sky, summer skies, the beautiful blue sky, the white puffy clouds, the gray colors, the blue colors, a little bit of that orangey kind of colors in the clouds, maybe picking up some of that sunset, beautiful warm sunset colors. We're going to kind of get all the colors in here that we need to, all the drama of a big summer sky. So that's what we're going to call the video and just have a fun time doing this here. So the first thing we're going to do is we see the picture here. We're going to work right from a photograph from our phone. You can use an iPad, a phone, a computer, a TV. You can use some pictures from magazines, whatever you want to use. You're the artist, you pick out your subject matter from wherever you like. So, you can find a beautiful photograph of skies, skies with beautiful big puffy clouds and things like that. Pretty much anywhere. You could look it up online. You can do a search on the internet. You can look through magazines. You might have some watercolor painting books that might have some skies, some beautiful clouds and sky colors. So it's up to you where you get your information from. But here, I'll just put this right on the camera right here as we're working. These are the clouds I'm going to use, the sky colors. This is black and white. So I'm basically going to use this black and white photograph and then just, add a little bit of color to it. So when we're making our grays and our blue, darker, like the sky colors, we're going to use our blues. And of course, when we make our clouds, we're going to use maybe a little bit of black and some burnt umber, some brown for our, shadow colors in the clouds, and some blue and a little bit of orange maybe too for some of the warmer colors in the clouds. But you'll see as we move through this video, it's going to be kind of fun and interesting. And then maybe I'll also add in maybe some small information at the bottom of the painting, maybe like a gas station or a hotel, or maybe like a convenience store or some kind of country store along the highway. So we're going to put a little bit of a highway in the bottom of this painting. So, but let's get the clouds in first. So let's say to ourselves, let's leave maybe the bottom. We're just going to only leave a little bit in the bottom of the painting for maybe we'll draw like a little store or a gas station or something in at the bottom of the painting. So let's do that. Let's just leave a little bit of the bottom of the painting. Maybe a quarter of the way up from the bottom of the painting. We're going to leave a section where we're going to have some, again, maybe like a road or a highway and maybe like a service station or something like that. But we'll work it out as we go. We're going to create this fun painting. We're going to be creative. We're going to, use our imagination. We're going to maybe use some other things for reference or whatever. We can find some things in magazines. Again, you can use magazines, internet, you can do searches, you can use some watercolor books if you have some watercolor books with you. You can use of course, the internet is always a valuable treasure trove of information, so you can use that too as well. So we're just going to want to put maybe like a little bit of a highway in some buildings in the bottom of this painting to kind of anchor it down, and then we're going to do these beautiful clouds up here in the top of the painting. So let's start with the clouds first. So again, we're going to leave the bottom quarter. So if you were to break down your painting in quarters, you might say, well, we'll draw maybe like an outline of the picture here, the picture frame space, like that. So if halfway is here, so if I just put my pencil down about halfway, you know, give or take a little bit, there we go, halfway. And then you could take another pencil, leave this one halfway, and you say, okay, well, a quarter of the way is about here, and another quarter of the way is about here. So therefore we have 4 quarters, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this would be the halfway point. And we can just, you know, work with that and say, okay, well, we're going to use a quarter of the bottom of the painting to do a little bit of some structure, some maybe a gas station again, a convenience store, a hotel, one of those, a motel along the highway. We'll draw a little highway in here. We'll do some fun things at the bottom portion of this painting, but let's get started with the clouds first. So let's do that. So I'm going to use this as my reference material. And again, you saw the beginning, you know, the finished painting in the beginning, so you'll kind of really... So if we were to say that this is the top 3 quarters, so if this is the top 3 quarters of the painting, and then we're going to leave a quarter of the bottom of the painting, that means we are missing a quarter of the bottom section of the painting here. So this is going to be the top 3 quarters. So that's going to be the top 1, 2, 3 quarters of the 4 quarters. This bottom quarter is missing right now because, again, we said we're going to do something different. We're going to maybe come up with some imaginative things in there and some material that we're going to maybe research in a few minutes or so. But let's get the sky in anyway. So that's 1, 2, 3. So 3 quarters. So 3 quarters. So we're starting here. As an artist, you'll kind of see this is how I'm dividing things up. So right now we're working these 3 quarters, which is right here. So the first quarter of these 3 quarters, or 1/3 of the quarters here, is this portion here. So let's get this in. This is kind of like, we'll just do some loose interpretation of what we see here. Some clouds here, like that. Then up here we have about 2/3 of the way up. Maybe not quite. Maybe about here we see this other cloud up here. It's not quite up to the 3 quarters. And we're just going to do some like that. Just sketching some light, sketchy lines just so you can kind of have a little boundary when you go in to do your painting. Then up here we have this here. This is the top of this cloud here. Let's do this up here. Like that. Look how easy that is. There we go. And over here we just come down like this. And then up here there's a little wispy cloud up here like that. So we leave that like so. And right now, as you can see, we've actually created with some light pencil lines. Now I'm going to do them a little darker for you so you can kind of see my pencil lines, so that when you're at home and you're saying, Chris, I can't see the lines, well, we're going to try to see the lines here. I'm going to try to get you in these darker lines. What I'll do is when I draw these lines in, like this for the clouds, I will erase them a little bit before we paint. But I want you to see them first, how I'm doing them. So we said that we wanted to keep this here, this picture on my phone. That's going to be the top 3 quarters. And the bottom quarter of this painting, again, is kind of like missing right now, but we have it hashed out here at the bottom. So this bottom right here, so this bottom section right here is not in the picture right now because we're going to put something in there. But we needed to have this here, the clouds on our top 3 quarters, 1, 2, and 3 quarters up here, like this. And so this is how we do it. We kind of make sure we just get the idea of the space divisions. Here again, we're using the top 3 quarters 1, 2 3/4, and the 4th quarter is down here. But it's right now it's invisible. We don't have it, but we're going to put it in. So there we have it. We have the clouds, the beautiful big blue sky. You see how I kind of did some pencil lines just to get the rough approximate lines of the clouds here up above. And now we're set. Now what we can do is we can just kind of, we can move this out of the way and finish up our clouds over here. Like that. And then we can also start to think to ourselves, all right, let's do a quick structure here, nothing too fancy. Let's just say to ourselves, all right, let's make a quick maybe a quick structure here, maybe like a gas station or something, a convenience store for people that are traveling the highways. And we'll just make it like this, and then maybe we'll have a little sign over here. Maybe this could be the sign that we're going to have. That's going to be like that. Okay, and then maybe over here we're going to have the rest of the roof. Like that. So you can just see I'm drawing a quick building here. A bit of an eraser. I use a kneaded eraser like this just to erase some lines. We don't want to make this too fancy. Just like a triangle here. So if you can just imagine the shapes I'm drawing, a triangle here, and then basically a straight line across, and then that's about it. We'll put this sign here a little bit lower. Okay, so we'll make that sign a little bit out front here, like that. And I think that looks plenty good. So we have a small building here. Maybe we'll put a window here in the building. And then maybe under here we have a few more windows. Maybe here we actually have a doorway. Maybe there's a door over here. Like that. And then maybe a couple windows here. So this might be like a gas station here. And then sometimes I'll just erase things and kind of let them be as they are, and don't get too worried about things and panicky. Just let things happen, draw a little couple shapes here and there. So that looks pretty good. That's like basically like maybe a small hotel or motel. We have a little bit of brush and bushes over here along the sign here. This could be a small motel like office, and then there's maybe some other rooms and buildings over here on the left-hand side. You know, you create your own ideas of what you want to do, but I thought making a really nice motel here right along or office, this is like a hotel, you know, motel office, let's say, just to have something there. And then you have some distant mountains over here. I thought that would look good too. Maybe some distant mountains over here. What do you think? How do you feel about that? Do we have sort of a good composition here? Is it looking good so far? And then maybe we're just going to have a road here going into the picture. And I'll put some like lines, just like lines that'll kind of help to lead ourselves into the painting. Like this. Like that. Like that. So some lines like a highway. Like this. How does that look? The true test will be when we start to paint this, and we'll see what what the overall look will be when we're finished, but I think maybe we'll have a couple cars. Let's do a few cars in this scene. Couple cars maybe. Maybe there's a car over here. Maybe there's a car here. We'll make a... Okay, we're going to make a car here and then some small tires here. So we're not going to try to get too fancy with too much information, just a couple. A small car here. This could be from the 1960s or 70s, 1950s even, who knows. We're going to do a little, kind of an old-fashioned car there. Maybe another car back here in the distance, like that. No sweat. Maybe we'll have a figure over here. We'll do a figure by the car here. And then maybe another figure over here too. So you can kind of block in a few figures as you go. All right, I think we have enough information that we have plenty of good, solid structure that we can start painting now and have a fun time of this. And you'll see that we are really going to enjoy doing this big, beautiful summer sky. Traveling, we're thinking of now, we're get into the feeling of it, the emotions of it, where this is traveling, vacation time, summertime. Maybe we're somewhere out in the west, somewhere in the west, and we're traveling through the beautiful, maybe some areas out in the west where there's beautiful desert, air, big, beautiful open skies, desert, long roads and mountains. Let's kind of just get into the ideas of it, of what we're doing here. And that'll kind of give us more excitement as we paint and enjoy this scene here. And there might be something over here too. Maybe there's another building or two over here. We'll put something over here in the distance. We don't quite know what it is, but we'll put something there anyway. It kind of looks interesting. A little bit of maybe a building or two or some signs and things like that. And then we have the mountains back here too. All right, so we have essentially a good pencil drawing, and now we'll get into the colors. And again, we have all the colors we could ever want right here in our Prang Oval 16 set. And I always like to, just before I start painting, use the spritzer bottle, get some paint, some water on your paints, like that, and then we'll be ready to paint next. And I guarantee you we're going to have an enjoyable time here painting the rest of this painting. Once you have your drawing in, that's really the difficult part. Really, most times when we all, as an artist, you'll kind of, am I right? The difficult part's the drawing. Once you get that drawing and that pencil sketch done, then it's a little more easy. Painting's a little easier than drawing. Drawing's usually your hardest challenge as an artist. That's why I always say, if you can paint 40% of the time and try doing drawings 60% of the time, you'll really actually benefit from that. So if you're focusing on if you're saying to yourself, what do I practice as a watercolor artist? You just say to yourself, 60% of the time I want to be drawing. I want to be trying to pencil sketch, draw, contour draw anything, practice 15 minutes every day of drawing. You'll really get a really huge advantage if you can draw every 10, 15 minutes a day. That goes a long way. And then if you're drawing quite a bit, then you spend your other 40% of your time painting, because painting is a little easier. Painting's a little bit easier than drawing. We'll have to admit that, right? As an artist, it's easier to grab a brush and pick up some paints and start putting them on the paper. That's a little bit easier. The challenging part is being able to draw. So always remember, put maybe 60% of your time into drawing and sketching, and then 40% of your time into painting. So that might mean that if you're spending 2 hours a week or 3 hours, well, let's say you're spending 2 hours a week on your artwork and your watercolor painting, maybe spend like an hour and a half drawing and trying to do your pencil drawings, your pen drawings, basically learning to draw a little, each day you spend 15, 20 minutes drawing. Then maybe like 1 or 2 days, like on the weekends, then you add in your painting to your drawing. So you spend like, 60% of your time practicing your sketching and your drawing, and then 40% of your time on your painting. And that will really help you to kind of key in on what is going to be helping you to get, advancing in watercolor. So if you spend all your time painting and you're really not doing any sketching or drawing, that's going to be a little difficult. But I'm not saying you cannot just paint in watercolor. You can do anything you want. It's art. You're the artist. You can create any art you want. You can come up with any method or technique you want in painting, in watercolor, in any type. You can mix watercolors, acrylics, and oil paintings, all three of them together, and do no sketching whatsoever, and that could be your artwork. You're the artist. You create your own your art. You do what you want to do as an artist. You don't let anyone ever tell you like you have to do it this way. I'm not telling you you have to do it this way. I'm just saying generally the way I did it is I spent a little more time sketching and drawing than I did painting. But again, you don't have to take the same route and the same, you don't have to do the same thing I did. Try to figure out what works for you. I know everyone's a little different, so as an artist, you have the freedom to create whatever art you want to, any way you want to. I'm just kind of showing you kind of what I do here, how I kind of came up through the ranks as a watercolor artist, and then you just figure it out on your own, time frame and how you want to do it yourself. Because I definitely think that art is like a personal thing. It's your personal artwork. You can come up with all kinds of creative ideas, and there's many artists all throughout time that came up with their own creative ideas that went on to do great artwork, and they didn't have to necessarily listen to one person or, so I'm not saying you have to listen to me for everything. You can also come up with your own ideas, and you can also watch a lot of other artists too on YouTube and books, and there's all kinds of great information out there. But all I'm saying is, from my perspective, what I did was I did definitely spend a little more time drawing than I did painting, and that's all. But again, you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. You could kind of, again, do your own spin-off if you have to or if you want to. You're the artist. You do what it works for you. That's the main thing. Do what works for you, what makes you happy. As long as you're painting all the time and having an enjoyable time with watercolor, I think you're fine. So in any case, I don't mean to be preachy right here, but I'm just kind of, sharing my knowledge, hoping that in the end of the day, you're enjoying your watercolor journey. That's the most important thing. Enjoy it. Have fun with art. Have fun with your painting, with your watercolor painting. Just to have that's your fun thing in life. We all have stresses and all that other stuff all the time. So, let art be your fun thing, your enjoyable thing. So don't be stressed over my things that I say here. Do what makes your painting happy, makes you happy, and we're all going to be excited about watercolor. And all right, I'll come right back and we'll start painting. Enough of the talking. We'll get back into this painting right in a second, okay? I'll get the paints on the paper quickly. All right, so we're getting back started again. What I'll do is, since I did some darker pencil lines here, I'm just going to take a kneaded eraser and sort of maybe erase a little bit of the lines. So for the clouds and in our subject matter here, we can erase a little bit. We don't have to have everything really, really penciled in super dark. I think if we erase a little bit with the kneaded eraser, it's going to look a little better for our final painting. So we have that done. And then, again, from this part going forward, I don't think you really need to see the subject matter, the photograph. We kind of saw the photograph. You saw that photograph on the camera for about 20 minutes or so. So you kind of have the feel for what we're looking at here. So what I'm going to do is just basically, I'm going to use maybe this brush here. I'll use I use my Simply Simmons number, I think it's a number 9 brush. It's like a round brush. So we'll use this one. I think we can get most of the painting done with this brush right here. So the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to get the, put a little bit of clean, freshly, I just, made sure I have fresh, clean water in my bucket, my water bucket. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some fresh, clean water right to these clouds right here. And, if you want, you can always go back to the beginning of the video and kind of look at the pictures a little bit, maybe get an idea. You can do some screen capturing if you want to sort of get some ideas. So if you do a screen capture or a screenshot of the clouds, that might be a little bit helpful. But I'll just put some fresh, clean water on some of the cloud areas. Not everywhere. Then what I'll do is, for the clouds, I'm going to use blue and some brown and some orange, some more blue, I'll start with that, but more blue than anything. I think the blue is kind of the brown and blue. Let's see, let's try that. That looks pretty good. So I put some of that onto the paper, and I just try to work some of that out. And we always try to remember that when you're doing your clouds, the white part of the clouds are on the outer edges of the clouds, and then the shadows are in the center of the cloud. So you're going to see the most darkest shadows right here in the center of the cloud, and then as it goes up higher and then goes closer to the cloud, to the sky, I should say the blue sky, you're not going to see as much darkness. So the darkness is really at the bottom of the cloud and the center. So the bottom and the center of the cloud is where you're going to see your darkest tones. Like that. And we'll add a little more blue to that. Over here in the center. And as long as you wet your paper first like we just did, we just dampen the paper with fresh clean water. And then you can kind of just add in your brown and your blue mixture, which is kind of like a gray. And then you have that. You have your beautiful cloud mixture. And then you can also work in down here more of your straight blue. So you wouldn't want to add too much brown to this, but you add a little touch of brown, but not too much. And you do some blue. And this way you have your blue sky up here. Let's do that. Let's do your blue sky up here. And I just kind of get that in. And I kind of lightly go around our pencil lines where we had our clouds. And it's definitely darker up here. So you can add some darker blue up at the top. Always remember this, your sky colors are always darker at the top, and they get lighter as they go down. So your blue sky gets lighter as it goes down toward the bottom of your painting. And that's all you really have to remember. And that's a safe rule of thumb, or that's your basic way you can really kind of get a good feel for clouds and sky. Your sky gets lighter as it goes down lower here. So you can kind of see there, I'm doing lighter washes. And then you can kind of connect up your clouds with your... You can connect up your sky colors with your clouds. And you can kind of just lightly dampen things up along the edges. Like that. And then again, we have some more clouds here. And then we just dampen up the paper. Blue sky down here, like that. A little bit lighter down here. And then you can add some blue sky down here. And it kind of, you can do some like, lines in the clouds like so. Some more parallel lines like so. So what happens is as you get lower in the sky here, the clouds get more, they go further into the distance, and as they go further into the distance, they actually become more longer, and you'll see parallel lines like this as I'm doing. You can kind of see these parallel lines as I go across. That's what kind of happens. The clouds are a lot larger in the front of the picture, closer up here. So if you can imagine, these clouds up here in the top of the painting are actually closer to us. And then as they go further into the distance, far into the horizon, by these long, far away distant mountains, the clouds get a little bit, they change a little bit, and they become, they kind of get like, they become smaller, and the lines that you see are parallel. So you kind of see some parallel lines all the way in the distance like that. And there's a little bit of orange too. As we look at our clouds, you'll see some orange in there. So I'm going to add some orange in there. And then some more clouds in the distance like this. And again, I'll add some orange. Orange tends to be toward the horizon line, closer to the furthest distance, out in the far reaches of the scene. So as you're going out further in the scene here, in the far distance, which is by these purple mountains, which we're going to do these purple mountains in just a second, but you will see a little more orange as we work this painting. All right. We'll do a little more darker here. Like that. So we just add some of that grayish color, which is again the blue and the burnt umber. And then there's a little bit of a shadowy part of the clouds over here too. So you kind of work your clouds a little bit as you go. And then sometimes I'll blot up a little bit with a tissue just to get a little bit of... All right, I think that looks really good. So right now let's take a break because we've got a lot of washes on the paper now and we want to let this dry. That's the important thing as you're working, and this is the glazing technique, by the way, if you haven't noticed. We are usually generally working in two different methods and techniques in watercolor. On my channel, I'll always mention this. You have two methods and techniques usually you'll work with for the majority of the time. Most of the time you're going to work in either the glazing technique, which we're doing here, which is the light washes first, and then we're going to do our darker washes last. Or you can use also the alla prima method, which would be doing your darker bits of paint and washes first, and then you do your lighter washes last. But with this painting, we want to do the glazing technique, which is let's get those light washes in first, the puffy clouds, the gray color portions of the clouds, the sky colors, the light blue sky colors. And then as we finish the painting, we'll do the darker darks, which are going to be some of the windows in the gas station here, and maybe some cars and a couple figures. So let's keep that in mind. You're just going to want to kind of plan your painting out when you start. This is the way we painted this painting. We did the glazing technique, which again is the light colors first, the light washes first, then we do our darker washes last. So I'm hoping you're having a great time here on my channel. I hope you'll subscribe. It's right on the right-hand side below, on the right-hand side this way. At least if please don't lose me. You might watch this one video and think, oh, wow, Chris, this guy is really good. He really paints beautiful watercolor paintings. But then all of a sudden, if you don't subscribe on the right-hand side below and click that button, the subscribe button, the next time you go to find me in a week or two, you're going to be like, oh, I forgot the guy's name. I don't know where, and next thing you know, you've lost me and you can't join along again and follow along and watch or paint together or start your painting journey. I'm hoping you're going to start painting. And if this is your first time here, I'm really hoping you'll start painting in the watercolor medium. It's a really fun medium. You can take this anywhere you go. You can travel with this in vacation, your weekend getaways. You can go in your backyard and do a little painting. You can paint in your home anytime you want, on your kitchen table, your stack tray, wherever you're at, you can paint watercolor anytime. So don't get discouraged. Watercolor painting is fun. It's for everyone. You can do it. It's really just a matter of following along, simple steps, simple methods and techniques as we go, and then you'll be really just cooking along here and having a great time. So let's take a quick break though. Let's let this dry. Now we did a lot of washes on this painting so far. Let's let this all dry up top here on this portion of the painting up top with the sky and the clouds. And then once we come back, we're going to do some of the darker washes below here. But before we actually do the darker washes, we're also going to do some lighter washes here on the roadway. This is a beautiful road. We're going to do some distant mountains, maybe with some purple colors, some blues, grays, and purples. You'll see how we're going to do it all here in just a second. And again, thank you for watching. If it's your first time, welcome. Thanks so much for stopping by and watching my video. I really appreciate it. I think you're going to get a lot out of my channel, a lot out of watching my videos. If you want to dabble in watercolor, this is the perfect place to be. You're at the right place, the right time. And why not? You give it a start, and I guarantee you after 2-3 months, 6 months to a year, you'll be really creating some beautiful paintings as we're working together. So I think you'll have a great time. You'll enjoy it. And again, it's just a wonderful experience to be painting in watercolor. So let's come right back in a few minutes and we'll keep going here. But you can kind of see we've developed the top area of our painting first with the light washes. Again, we're doing the glazing technique, as we say. The more you watch videos, the more you'll pick up on all these terms that I'm talking about: glazing technique, alla prima technique, washes. You'll pick up on the colors, all these different things. You'll always pick up more information if you're watching every week. And that's why I say please subscribe, because if you're not subscribed and you're not watching all the time, you're not going to pick up on all the details that you need to. If you want to definitely improve on your watercolors or even just get a start, you really have to start picking up all of the information and keep letting it soak into your mind. And then this way you can really grasp a hold of it and really start to run with it. So, all right, let's be right back. We'll start to get these lower washes here in the lower portion of this painting, the bottom quarter. We said we did 4 quarters in this painting. Bottom quarter, we're going to get this next with some light washes. And then we'll take a quick break after that, let it all dry, and then we'll go in and do some dark washes. And you'll see how beautiful this painting will look once we start adding in those darks. Got to have the darks for the lights to look good. Okay? All right. We'll be right back. All right. So we are going to get in our roadway here, some distant mountains. We'll get some purple here, some blue. So I'm going to use some blue and purple. And I'm just going to start getting in some of that purple distant mountain color. Cool color. Purple is a cool color. And I'll put some purple over here too. The mountains. Maybe a little bit of brown up here. Maybe we're going to add a little bit of brown to the bottom of that mountain. Like that. And then we can blend that in a little bit so that brown color just along the bottom of the purple mountain. Then we're going to do some blue. Very, very light though. I'm just going to do a touch of blue here on the foreground. And then some, let's do this. Very important. When you start to run out of kind of like space on your palette where you have too many colors mixed, just don't be afraid. Grab some paper towel, and just clean out a section of your palette. And this way you can just go in there and then get some more colors that you need to get your washes in. So we're going to add some warm, beautiful warm washes to the ground here. This is like sort of the sand and the roadway, concrete roadway here. So I'm just going to do some scrub in some, you can just see I'm scrubbing in some orange, very light, super light orange wash on this roadway here. Like that. And then what else do we have? I try to kind of keep things a little bit of orange and blue for the shadow of this building. The roof is quite light, so we're going to pretend that that white paper is, we're going to leave that on the rooftop there because that rooftop is in sunlight and it really looks bright. Let's not kind of go over that and make it too dull. And this street sign, well, this is maybe a sign for the hotel or the gas station, whatever it is. You create things in your own imagination. Maybe you're going to pretend this is a hotel or a motel, or maybe it's going to be a gas station or a convenience store or an antique store. You create in your own imagination what you want, but all you want to do is basically make the shape of the building, and then from there on you can just pretend in your own mind what it might be, and you have your own story going on in your mind of what it might be. And you know, maybe you're here in this scene and you're out traveling and you're having a great time. Maybe you're traveling around the United States or whatever country you're from. Maybe you're traveling around in your country where you live and you're doing some sightseeing and painting, and you're doing some plein air painting, outdoor painting, and you know, maybe you're sitting here in a chair painting this scene with beautiful clouds in the sky. So you just get into the mood of things, and the and that gets you more excited about the painting, and that's all the much better. So I'm going to actually add a little more blue and brown just to get a little more of some lines here in this picture, like so, just to have some angular lines going across like that. And I think if you get some of those angular lines like we just have here, you'll be fine. That's going to kind of lead you into the picture, like this. And then, again, we had some blue and brown here. I would stick to the same colors now that you're using. throughout your painting. I wouldn't, maybe some orange. I wouldn't go too much beyond the colors that you're already using. So here I'll use some of those same colors. And then we're just sort of making some marks on the paper over here in the distance. Maybe this is maybe a sign over here or a building. Just something interesting over here on the right hand side. And it's kind of light, so we'll leave it lighter. I'll blot up a little bit of the paint. And then again, like I said, let's let this dry though now. So you kind of see how we put this light wash here on the ground, on the roadway here. So this is like a road, a highway going through the scene, a highway, some distant mountains. This is all damp now. This paper is all damp and wet. We don't want to keep painting over the top. We did some washes here on the front of this building. We don't want to paint over the top of this when it's still damp. So that's the thing I mentioned with painting in the glazing technique is get your washes on your paper and then let them dry. You can use a blow dryer as you work. That works good. Or you just take breaks. So right now I'm going to take a quick break, but I will use a blow dryer when I shut off the camera right now in about 2 seconds. I will use a blow dryer and blow dry this off really quick, especially the ground level here that we just did, the lines here. We did the lines. We did a little bit of work over here just to pretend there's something over here like a building on the right hand side over here. Doesn't have to be anything more than just a couple indications of some spots of color. Some spots of color. That's all you need. And then once we're done with this, we're going to get in the darker highlights and details of the windows on this building, the sign, and maybe this car here, and the two cars and the building. Once we get that all done, I think we're going to be fine. So let's come back. We'll just take a quick break. And again, I'm going to use a blow dryer to blow dry off my paper. Make sure your paper is 100% dry. If you don't have 100% dry paper, and then you start going in and trying to do details over damp paper, oh my gosh, the paint's going to go everywhere. You're going to get frustrated. But always remember, what'll rescue your painting, if you put some paint on there and it starts to go whoosh, all over the place, you just grab some paper towel or tissue and blot it up, and that's when you know you got to stop, either blow dry it or let it dry for like a half an hour or an hour, and then you come back. So that's the main thing. You'll always know that the key to watercolor is letting things dry and then knowing when you have to let things dry, and then you come back and work a little more. Then you let it dry, then you come back and work a little more. You use a blow dryer if you want to, that'll help. So if you have that idea though in your mind as you're working with watercolors, you'll know that really what causes a lot of problems is if you're trying to work with damp paper or wet paper and you're trying to go over the top of that with other colors or other washes, you'll notice that really can cause a big problem. So you're always better off getting your washes on, letting them dry, then coming back in and doing your darker washes over the top. And that again is the glazing technique. So as you can see, we're doing the glazing technique here. I'm not hiding anything. I'm showing this right out here in the open for everyone to see. With the glazing technique, you're getting your light washes on first. You're letting them dry 100% completely. Then you go over with a little more darker washes here, as you saw we did. Then when you're done with that, and you let that dry 100%, then you come back in and we'll do some darks, and you'll see how this all works. Now is going to be the final part of our process of the glazing technique. Now we're going to do our darkest darks, as you'll see through this painting here, and you'll see how it all works together, harmoniously together, to work beautifully to get yourself a really nice finished painting. Okay, so let's come right back in a couple minutes, and we'll let this dry first, and then we'll come back. And I'm going to use a blow dryer so I can come back in like 10 minutes. All right, we have just taken 5 minutes and I used the blow dryer to dry this all off, so you can see this is perfectly dry. I wouldn't do this if it wasn't perfectly dry. You can see perfectly dry this whole paper right here, our watercolor paper. Now we're going to get into the final details, and we're going to go with darker darks, and then you can find the most find the finest point brush you can. I like to use the needlepoint brushes. I get these from the Alvaro Castanet website. This is a number 8 needlepoint brush. This is what I find is the most fantastic fine point brush that I've found, where you can use this time after time in your watercolor paintings and get the finest details with this brush, and it lasts forever. I've had my number 8 needlepoint brush here for at least like 8 years now, and it's works perfectly every time for the last 8 years. So I find it's been a great investment for me, and I can get again the fine details of this painting with this needlepoint brush. I'm not saying you have to figure out your budget, figure out what you can afford for your budget. There's different fine point brushes out there, but you know, if we're going to try to do the final details of this painting, it's really hard to do it with a brush like this that we were just using, the Simply Simmons. So this Simply Simmons brush, it gets a lot of great washes on the paper. As you can see, we did, you know, 75 or 80% of the painting with this Simply Simmons paintbrush. And again, you can use some really fantastic flat brushes or square brushes. These are the Princeton Art and Brush Company brushes that I like to use that are synthetic. These are great, very inexpensive to get some washes on the paper if you want to. So you can figure out any, you know, purchase the brushes you're comfortable with. But I use this needlepoint brush. Again, it gets great details in the painting, and you're going to see now how we're going to do that. So I'm going to go in here and get some burnt umber and some blue. I call it burnt umber because that's the colors I use with my 2 paints. So when I use my 2 paints, it's burnt umber. This palette, they might call it something different. In the Prang set, they might call it something different, but I don't really worry about that too much. But again, we're going to get like a bluish, brown, grayish color. And we're going to kind of stick to the same colors we've used throughout the painting so far, which is basically blues and browns to get our gray colors and our blues. No sense in starting to use too much color off of that. We might use some green. I'll put some green in here. I have a Hess gas station right close by me where I live, so I tend to get some gas there a lot when I'm so we will use some green in this painting, and we can even add some green in there too. So if you're going to use some green, we're going to use some green in our painting. So if you're going to use some green in your painting and you know you're going to do that, add some green in here like this. Just add some green in your gray colors there. Over here too, add some green. Maybe add some green up here in the sky. So I'm just going to add a little bit of green around the painting, very subtly. Paper's dry over here, and all these sections that I'm putting some of that green in there, it's all the paint. You know, the painting's 100% dry, so I can add that green in there. I can also add it here in the sky color a little bit, and it's not going to affect anything. And also in the ground here, so I'll add some green in the ground here too, on the pavement, on the roadway here. So I'll add some green there too. So if I add green everywhere in this painting, very subtly, but it is noticeable. A little bit of green over here too, in this portion of the painting. Then when I add some green to the sign and the building, it's going to look fine because I've already added the green everywhere else and harmonized the green into the painting. All right, so we did that. We added some green into our painting, and it looks really good. There we go. You can kind of see how I did that. Now, what I did is I made sure I didn't really add that green anywhere where I need to add details. So this is where I'm going to do the details here. So we're just going to do a car here. Add some green into your car too. Might as well, since we're using green. Okay. Some shadow under the car. Then we have a figure or two, so let's do some figures here. Okay, so we have some figures. And maybe the gas station is over here on the left-hand side, and this is the store, maybe. Come up with your own idea of the way you're creating your painting and what you like to kind of feel as you go through it. So I'm just pretending this is like a convenience store. Maybe the gas pumps are like over here on this side, on the left-hand side of the painting, so we're not quite seeing them right now. But we're seeing this sign here. The Hess gas station sign. We're seeing the convenience store over here on the left, on the right hand side. So I'm going to add some of these darks here. Like that. So I'm adding in my darks. And a little bit of shadow along there. Like that. And this is a little more. So we have our car here. So we have a car there. Let's have a car over here in the distance. Just subtly. Like that. A little bit of a car over there in the distance on the roadway, the highway here. And a little bit of shadows here and there. So there's some shadows under this roof over here. And there's some darks under the eaves of the roof here. And there's a window over here. So we're just trying to kind of pick up some details here and there. There's a window over here, and there's maybe a little, maybe there's a vent up there on the gable of the roof. And that looks pretty good. So we have the building fine. And there maybe there's a couple machines over here, maybe a ice chest. And maybe there's a soda machine over here. You can come up with little ideas that you have for yourself that you want to do. So I'm just pretending there's a couple machines over here, and maybe like an ice chest for ice, and maybe over here there's a soda machine on this building here, and this is maybe the convenience store, and then maybe the gas station's over here to the left. And again, I come up with my own little story that I like to make up as I go. And what else do we have? Let's do a sign maybe. Maybe I'll take some of that orange that we used before. Let's use some orange over here. Maybe we'll do some orange just for some color. Why not? Add some color to our paintings. Have a happy painting with happy colors. And we'll do that. Let's be content with our paintings and happy with our paintings. Let's not, if one or two sections of your paintings come out good, your compositions, be happy with that. Maybe sometimes, and this happens to me often when I'm painting, sometimes I'll have certain things that come out in my painting really well, and there's other sections of my painting that don't come out too good. So enjoy the sections that come out good, or parts of your painting that come out good. And then don't worry about the sections that don't come out good, or the parts of your painting that don't come out good, because that's really what watercolor is about. You're going to have little victories and little defeats within your paintings as you go. So Even if you want to, you take some scissors and you cut out the good sections, and then the stuff that didn't come out good, you just take that, you cut it out and throw it away. And you just save little portions of things that come out good. That can be a way of kind of, giving ourselves some encouragement and saying, hey, yeah, I'm making some progress here. I'm having some good sections of my paintings that are coming out good. Yeah, there's some spots that don't look so great in other areas of my painting. So again, if you want to, clip out some areas that come out really good and then discard the other areas that aren't looking so great. And then you'll find that that'll be actually a really good way to, keep yourself encouraged that you are having success in your paintings. Because it's true, you are having success in your paintings, whether you like it or not. You are having success in your paintings. Maybe not every part of your painting comes out perfect, but certain parts are coming out good. So, have encouragement in those areas that are coming out good. And in the other areas that aren't coming out so well, don't worry about it. Clip those out and just say, don't worry about it. Okay, so I'm just going to do a sign here. Again, I have a Hess station right close by where I live. So I'm going to do my Hess station sign like that. Maybe I'll put a shadow along this side here. Like that. Maybe there's a shadow this way like that. And if you want to just add a little more exciting color to your sign, you can do that too. But I think that's really, I think we have a good painting here now. I'll make some darker shadow under the car like so. There's the figure there too. And maybe the figure is this figure is over by the car, maybe putting some goods in the car from the store. Maybe there's a person in the car. We could put a little indication of some people in the car. And then you can always take some red color maybe and put a couple, maybe there's some taillights over here on the car. Like that. So I think overall this is a good painting. It's fun. We had a good time creating some clouds, some sky colors, some details here with our feeling of big summer skies with lots of clouds, big skies. We're traveling maybe. Here we're doing some vacation traveling. We have some cars, maybe a service station or a grocery store along the way. You create your own ideas, your own storyline. But I think we've got a good painting here. And then what we'll do is we'll just take off the tape, and it always looks good if we can kind of peel off the tape. And then we kind of see a little more of the painting framed out as if it's maybe in a frame or if we have a mat around it. So let's do that. So I'll just take the tape and peel it off here. There we go. So I think that looks good. We didn't do too many colors. We kept with a very, very simple, minimal, palette. We didn't use a tremendous amount of colors. Again, we kept like basically a simple palette of colors as we went along, and I think that's perfect. This is like a great beginner style painting where you can do some really fun things with skies, clouds, you know, some interesting structures, some roadways, mountains in the distance. You kind of have a little bit of interesting like landscape type information here, as well as a little bit of you know, architecture and things like that. So I think this is a fun painting to do, and I'm hoping you're going to do this painting, have good success with it. And again, we'll see you in the next video. Again, I always mention, please, if you haven't subscribed, why not hit the subscribe button on the right hand side below. This way you stick with me here on my channel. I'm making videos every week, every month, and every week after week, month after month, year after year. I'm creating at least 2 or 3 videos every week. This way, you know, if you subscribe, you'll see each video as we go throughout the weeks and then over the months, and you'll just be getting all that information, and that information is going to help you to become better, more proficient at your watercolors. Again, information is power. Knowledge is power. So the more of these things that you're taking in as you go along, watching the videos, that's going to really add up to better paintings for you, more successful paintings. So we'll see you on the next video very, very soon. Thanks again for watching, and bye for now.